A man walks along the streets on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, heading toward the intersection of Broad Street and Wall Street. Holding his hand and keeping pace is his 9-year-old grandson. Young Daniel Frischberg is about to get a first-hand look at the New York Stock Exchange. He doesn't realize it yet, but his destiny is to be a major player in the world of finance. What he's learned over nearly 50 years, he'll teach you today, and it's all free of charge. There's a billionaire locked inside you. The key to freedom is information, the kind of information you find here on the MoneyMan Report. Now, here's the MoneyMan. Here's Dan Frischberg.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the MoneyMan Report. I'm Dan Frischberg. Once again, I'm the luckiest man in the world, sitting next to the beautiful Alicia, who was the originator of this program 30 years ago.
Good morning, Dan.
More than that. Good morning. So, here we're in one of the times when we really get to be valuable, because the world, the investing world, has gone crazy and totally irrational and don't know what they're doing. And that's only in the short run, because in the long run, they really are rational. Mm-hmm. But you don't really think about the long run because you're living in this flux world. So you have a market X-ray. Why don't we start with that? Then
okay.
we can
market X-ray. We are definitely in bull market. Different parts of the market is selling off. Just the lemming following each other. The question to ask, is the recovery for COVID stopping right now? No. Is the printing of money stopping right now? No. Is the digital transformation stopping right now? No. The selling pressure rising since February. It's temporary and short term, and the demand is falling. When we say selling pressure, we mean the supply. And when we say demand is falling, we meant buying power. Okay, now, this is what a pullback looks like, not a bear market. A temporary condition, a pause that refreshes. There are a number of stocks 20% below their highs. Under the surface is positive divergences, more advancers than decliners. Long-term momentum disappeared because they are taking a break. Why? You're coming in, maybe it's about rising interest and fear of inflation.
That's what they're telling you on television, that it's happening because of rising interest rates and
fear of inflation.
Fear of inflation. And actually, it sounds logical, and they're all saying it because they're all saying it. And most of them haven't got a clue, and so they just say what everybody else is saying. But it's completely wrong. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have you're going to be rallying at the same time, and you're going to have the same improvement in, they wanted inflation to pick up, remember? Mm-hmm. You want somebody to have some value on borrowing money, right? You want to have something where there is some value.
Well, explain what is inflation. You're looking at a 10-year treasury.
Inflation means the prices are, they don't even understand what it means, and that's why they're getting it wrong. I don't want to get too technical, yeah, because this is about how we make money. And so, so the bottom line is that back in 2016, the 10-year treasury yield had fallen to about 1.5%, roughly where it is now, right? Mm-hmm. But that was the very bottom there in 2016. And remember, that was before the election. That was in the early part of 2016. Mm-hmm. Trump was elected in November of 2016. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the growth and improvement in the economy is attributed to Donald Trump policies, right? Mm-hmm. But those policies weren't put into effect until 2017. But there was an inflation upturn. The cycle turned up in 2016 because You see, these models are generally wrong. The economists go by models. They have all these beliefs that when this happens, this happens. A lot of these things are simply cyclical. They get to as low as they can go, and then they just turn up. And actually, the very accurate economic cycle research institute, who has been making me a fortune for many, many years, they called for the inflation upturn right then in early 2016, long before Trump was elected. Now that inflation turned up and eventually reached about close to 3.5% on the Treasury, right? And that was in the early part of 2018, yes. But that was the period. If you look at the technology companies who are falling right now, supposedly because interest rates have risen from 0.5% to 1.5%. Remember, 1.5% or 0.5%, you've never seen interest rates this low ever in your life, even at 1.5%. Remember, most of the money that I've made in my life, interest rates were at 6%, 7%, 8%. 1.5% on interest rates is not high. In fact, as the people that are sitting here and listening to us, let me remind you that if your bank changed your interest rate by 0.5% on your bank account, would you actually go in there and move? Would you actually do it? You wouldn't drive across the street for an extra 0.5%, right? You don't change your behavior over that. They're just making up facts. So here you are, inflation actually hit, the cyclical upturn in inflation turned downward in the early part of 2018. At that point, the Treasury yield was at 3 point something percent, right? But I got to tell you that during that period, these technology companies, particularly Kathy Wood's ARK funds, which is the ones that they talk about because those represent those fast growth technology, the digital transformation companies, right? Digital transformation, digital genetics, all of these modern things that are changing the world, that are essential and that are not stopping, and that are where the big profits are going to be over the next 5 or 10 years, changing the world. And they're remind me that we want to talk about this digital transfer, why these digital platforms are better businesses, why they're worth investing in. We'll talk about that in a second. But those stocks went up dramatically by 50 or 100% during that period from 2016, early in 2016, until kind of early in 2018. At the time when the interest rate of the Treasury went from 1% up to close to 3.5%. So they're telling you now that the reason the stock market is selling off is because the Treasury interest rate went from 0.5% to 1.5%. But what I'm telling you is that the last time the interest rates were rising, those technology stocks went up for a year and a half, and doubled or tripled. So it isn't the interest rates. And by the way, they are going to turn upward, and they're going to double or triple again over the next couple of years, because that's where the profits are. So what I'm telling you is, every time you turn on your television, every time you read about something, I have read 3 or 4 times today by some expert being quoted on CNN, quoted on CNBC, quoted on television, quoted on Fox television, and it's always explaining that the volatility in the stock market is caused by concern about rising inflation. But inflation is the lowest it's ever been, and you know that all year long the Fed's been telling you that they want to get inflation up to 2%, right? And so anyway, this is all a lie. It's got nothing whatsoever to do. But I want to tell you that when the inflation downturn happened in the early 2018, and inflation, the Treasury yield went from 3% down to 0.5% between early 2018 and early 2020, the Treasury yield, the 10-year Treasury yield went down from 3 point something down to 0.5%. Those technology stocks were flat during that whole period of time, didn't do anything.
Mhm.
And then you had this upturn in inflation and interest rates, which went from 0.5% up to 1.5%. And during that period of time, all those digital transformation technology companies rallied enormously and went up 100% again. So what I'm telling you is that these interest rates do not determine when these companies' stocks go up. And the reason is because there is really very little difference between a 1% and a 1.5% interest rate. It doesn't affect how much money those companies make. And let me really tell you what's actually going on. There's a company, Pacific.
You wanted me to remind you
Yeah.
about the difference, why digital transformation is better. Companies, what's the difference between them?
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you that for this segment.
Okay.
The reason is because in a digital transformation company, digital platform, even starting with an old company like Microsoft or MasterCard or Visa or any of those digital companies where it's about software
Mhm.
or Fastly,
Mhm.
that means that when they want to expand, because it's a digital platform, they can print 1 million copies or 1 billion copies, and there's no additional expense. They don't have to borrow money. They don't have to spend a lot of money. If you are expanding a manufacturing company and you want to make more textiles
Or Coca-Cola company.
or Coca-Cola, if you want to make more Coca-Cola, you got to buy more syrup and more machines and hire more people and get
Bottles.
more trucks. Yeah, bottles, everything. You got to spend money, you got to borrow money, and it's expensive to expand. And that's the world we grew up in. It is the analog, what do they call that? The Industrial Revolution.
Mhm.
It was terrific compared to the old style of farming,
Mhm.
but it was really very cumbersome.
Mhm.
And in the digital world, they can expand and print enough for the whole world with no additional expense. It's a better business model. It's worth more. And of course, it should have then a higher price to earnings ratio and a higher expense.
Mhm.
So that's why the digital companies that are changing the world now live in a better economic world. They're easier to expand. They're just better businesses, and they deserve higher prices. And let's stop for a break, and we'll be right back right after this.
You've heard it said right here. With enough leverage, you can multiply your investing strength and move mountains. So think about it. How'd you like to own companies like Roku or MasterCard or Raytheon and put down as little as 5 or 10% to unlock the treasure chest of unlimited upside gains? You can, all the while drastically reducing your risk. And you can do it with zero borrowing costs. You just need that leverage and a little know-how. So Dan Frischberg is going to allow you to pick his brain to better understand the concept of leverage. These are special online training sessions called the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. You can use just a little bit of money to potentially make incredible returns. If you want to make real money, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of this once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. All you have to do to try it is to go online and register so you can see the results for yourself. The cost is next to nothing, and look what's waiting for you. Each week, Dan will discuss a few detailed trades, quality, actionable trades. You get detailed instructions on buying and selling specific put and call options. The Pick Dan's Brain Option Service shares specific underlying stocks, expiration dates, strike prices, and shows you how much money you could make instantly. It's Dan Frischberg's time-tested, proven money-making discipline that he's used for 50 years to make himself and a lot of other people rich. Lots of other benefits are waiting for you, too, if you just register at themoneyman.com. That's all one word, themoneyman.com, for the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. This is about teaching you the knowledge and skills. It's your responsibility to apply these skills and knowledge to your specific situation. It's too much to detail here, but all the info is right there at themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the MoneyMan Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Welcome back. This is the Money Man Report. I'm watching an argument between Charlie Munger and Robinhood. And this is really, and you know what Robinhood is? It's the brokerage firm that invented the idea of making believe they don't charge anything. And so all the stupidest people in the world sign up for it.
No.
Because they think that Robinhood is doing free trades for them. It's doing it for free. When in fact, of course, what they really are doing is they direct the trades to market makers who charge twice as much as other market makers, and they give kickbacks to Robinhood. The SEC is already suing Robinhood for lying, but that doesn't change the fact that all these people think they're getting something for nothing, so they're on Robinhood. So they all get together and they chat together. And when you ask them, where do you get your information? Where do you get the idea of what you're going to invest in? And they say they get it from chat room and Seeking Alpha. Is millions of people who have no earthly idea what they're investing in the same things each other are doing, and they're all poor. All of them are poor.
Insist on being poor.
And the easy way for them to figure out what to do is to copy other poor people. And it never even occurs to them to ask, if they're doing something that's worth imitating, why are they poor? So Robinhood Markets fires back at criticism leveled against it a day earlier by Charlie Munger. You know who Charlie Munger is, right? He's the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. He's the blood brother of Warren Buffett. And these guys are guys who have made themselves into multi-billionaires, not by investing in stocks, but by accumulating lots of money and using huge leverage to invest in companies. But they only invest in companies that they know everything about. And the last thing they care about is what you're doing and what people are chatting about. In fact, I would say if they're chatting about it, I'm figuring out these are the dumbest people alive. How can I get their money? Well, that's my career, is taking money from them. And now that they're all accumulated on Reddit and they're all accumulated in Robinhood, they're even better and easier to take the money from, right?
Providing liquidity for the market.
So instead of getting the idea of what I should invest in by reading Barron's and The Motley Fool, instead of that, what I want to do is I want to figure out, what is Barron's and The Motley Fool going to be writing about soon? And what are they going to be writing about? They're going to be writing about companies that are making more and more money, where the company is doing things people really care about, right? And the sales are escalating. It's just an escalating curve, and the sales are going up, up, up. And eventually they catch on because the stock is already going up, right? Why is the stock going up? Now it's going up. When I'm buying it, it's not going up. What I love is a lousy chart with the stock that's going down, with a company whose sales are escalating very rapidly. And I'm talking about this on actually right now here at the end of February. And I'm talking about a company called Etsy, which is doing exactly that. Their sales are escalating. Their chart is lousy.
So explain what else Etsy does.
Okay, Etsy is a special company because what they do is they're online, they're selling products online, but they're selling unique stuff that's homemade by people that crafts that are made by people around the world. But Amazon doesn't have all that unique, one of a kind stuff. So they're doing it on a smaller scale. But if I want to buy a present for Alicia, I'm not going to buy some dopey thing that everybody's got, right? Alicia is pouring through all the crap that everybody's buying all the time. She's a girl. She's
I'm a girl.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
And me, they don't have it on Amazon, but they have it on Etsy. And more millions of little vendors are selling their stuff on Etsy.
It's really cool too.
Etsy's got this beautiful idea of a network. You know what the whole idea of a network is? This is what I love to invest in. The network is that the more people are selling their stuff on there, the cooler it is, so the more customers come. And the more customers come, the more vendors want to sell their stuff on there, and they hear about it. So they're getting all these unique products from all over the place, and they're getting thousands of little vendors. And those little vendors used to maybe have a job as a clerical person, but they were home making cool little things, right? Making pictures, making mosaics, and they were cleaning my house. And then now they were also cleaning offices. Now the offices aren't open as much. They're cutting their price. They're cutting their expenses. So the people, they only have half as many people cleaning the office. So that person is making mosaics and making these little crafts. And now they need the money. So they have to get innovative. So they find Etsy and they start selling their stuff on Etsy. So millions of vendors around the world are doing that. And they can't really do it on Amazon because they're too small and too unique. And so they're selling it on Etsy. So Etsy's got this unique network deal going on, which is the more people are buying on Etsy, the more the vendors come. But the more the vendors come, the more interesting it is for the people to come. So it gets around. Now, what's happening is, nobody knows about it yet. They're not really profitable, but their sales are escalating very rapidly. So they have a lousy chart. So I see it and I say, boy, this is what I love. A company with rising sales that are escalating and a lousy chart where the stock isn't going up yet. But I know the stock is going to it's just starting to go up now. So what I know is in a few weeks, Motley Fool's going to be writing about it. And then pretty soon, Barron's and the Wall Street Journal are going to be writing about it. They're not writing about it because they know anything really about the company. They're writing about it because the stock's going up. Now that the stock's going up, it's attracting attention. And who are we interested in taking the money from? The lemmings, right?
Explain what is the lemming.
Okay, a lemming is an animal. There's a rumor, people talk about the lemmings. They're a little animal that looks kind of like a squirrel or a chipmunk or something. And the story is that they're up there in Denmark, up in the North Pole, and they follow each other, right? And so you have these pictures of the lemmings following their leader as he goes over the cliff into the icy waters below to his death. And the story is that because they live in a place where there's hardly any food, there's survival value for the species to keep the population down. So every year they follow each other and commit suicide. Now, this is really not true. That's not what they do, but that's the story. And when I learned about them in biology class when I was in high school 60 years ago, I was wondering, what could they be saying to themselves while they follow that leader over the cliff into the icy waters below to their death? What could they be thinking, right? Now, the truth is, lemmings aren't really doing exactly that. They aren't trying to commit suicide. What they are doing is that because their population can't support a lot because they're up there in the North Pole, up in northern Denmark or something, what they do is they instinctively know leads them to go somewhere else. They're not going to try to commit suicide. They're going somewhere else, but they don't know where the hell they're going, right? Because they're idiots, they're lemmings. And the leader doesn't know where they're going, but he's going to find someplace. So he starts going, and then the other lemmings follow him. And when they get to a cliff with water, he wants to cross it because they're going somewhere else, and he doesn't know where they're going. And so they actually are following him. Now, they don't always die. They're not trying to die, but they're just stupid, and they follow the leader into the water and die.
But
sometimes.
Aren't we
Sometimes they
lemmings?
die. Yes.
We're all lemmings.
Yeah, well, we try not to be lemmings, but that's what the lemmings do. So what I want to do is I want to take money from the lemmings. The lemmings are not trying to commit suicide. The lemmings are trying to follow the leader to find a better place, but the leader doesn't know where he's going, and they don't know where they're going, and they're all just going somewhere, and half the time they die because they go someplace that kills them, right? And that's what the lemmings are. They're not trying to commit suicide. They're trying to be smart, but they're stupid trying to be smart. So what I want to do is I want to take the money from the lemmings who are following each other but don't know anything about what they're investing in. So you ask them, where do you get your information? Well, I get it from Barron's, I get it from Seeking Alpha, I get it from chat rooms, and I find out about this. Don't you think it would be a good idea to find a company that's doing important things and then that's having rising sales and where it's a good deal to own the company and where you want to own the company? That might be a good way to make money, right? Okay, we're going to stop for a break. This is a very entertaining thing because I like to let you in on how you really make money. You don't make money by reading what idiots are doing who don't know what they're doing. How can you follow poor people and become rich when you do what they're doing and they're poor? So we're going to be right back right after this break. Stick around. This is the MoneyMan Report. This is your destiny. It is the sound of your money growing. Your money is not growing by following people with no money. That's not the secret. We'll be right back right after this. Do not touch that dial.
Each week in his live video market and economy update offered to his inner circle, Dan Frischberg delivers the in-depth professional version of his famous market x-ray report, live and interactive. Now that means you get to ask all the questions you want. And if you can't make the live meeting, you can watch the report on demand. Then email your questions in and Dan will email the answers back or include them in the next live report. Week in and week out, Dan brings you the ideas and specific stock picks from his friends, the people you see on TV and read about in the papers. You'll see what they're buying, how they're hedging, and when they're taking money off the table. At last, you'll get to see how the insiders negotiate the institutional macro bonds that billionaires on Wall Street rely on, the ones almost everyone else never even heard of. When you become an Inner Circle member, Dan will share with you his lifetime of experience and guide you to the best teachers, the best stock pickers, the best option strategists. And you'll be invited to exclusive working vacations in beautiful locations for the Inner Circle only, where you'll rub elbows with some of the most famous investors on Wall Street. So, how do you value the lifetime of skill and experience of a top investor on a mission to share it all with you and help you become one of the few winners? If you've been listening to Dan for a few years, he's likely already made you tons of money, or even more important, saved you from losing a fortune. Now, there are limits to the capacity of the online video sessions, but right now, for a limited time, Dan's offering you the position of charter subscriber, get this, for less than the price of a cup of coffee a day. For all the info or to subscribe, just simply click on themoneyman.com. Themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the MoneyMan Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Welcome back. This is the MoneyMan Report. So I was telling you about Etsy, which at the moment has not attracted, it is not the subject that all these places are writing about, and all these chat rooms are not doing anything about it. They just happen to be a really good business that's getting better and better every day, and people don't know about it.
And Robinhood is
Right,
not
and
focused
pretty
on
soon,
it
yeah,
yet.
but you know what's going to happen? Pretty soon they're going to start to hear about it. Why? Because the chart's going to be good. It's going to start going up, right? I want to buy it now because the sales are going up, but the stock is going down. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so I've started to tell you about Robinhood markets, the place where people congregate to do stupid things, and this is where they congregate.
And this is an argument.
So they're having a fight with Charlie
Okay.
Munger, yes, who is Warren Buffett's partner. But Charlie Munger likes to help people. So they were created to allow people the quote, who don't have access to generational wealth or resources that come with it to become investing in the U.S. stock market. As though Charlie Munger had he's got generational wealth, but he wasn't born rich.
No, he wasn't.
Warren Buffett wasn't born rich. I wasn't born rich. Having generational wealth happens from doing smart things and getting rich. So they're saying it was created to allow people who don't have access to generational wealth or resources that come with it to begin investing in the U.S. stock market. This is what Robinhood's spokeswoman says, reiterating the company's credo about democratizing access to the market for average investors. Suggests that new investors have a mindset of racetrack bettors is disappointing and elitist. Charlie Munger is an elitist. He's saying them following each other when none of them have any money and they're all following each other is stupid. And it's good, right? So now you have people who are dumb and don't make any money. Remember, the people who actually make a lot of money were not laid off. They're working from home, doing engineering or doing something. They're not rich, but they're making good money. The people who are stuck at home, who are getting money from the government and who are going on Robinhood, are people that are one step lower than that, right? They're people that are hoping that the $15 an hour gets passed so that they can make $15 an hour. And they don't even understand the economics of this to know that if they're not worth $15 an hour, then they're going to get fired rather than somebody paying them more money than they're worth. They don't get that. They think they're going to get $15 an hour because the government makes the rule. That's what's called static out. If you want something, you just do something dumb to make it happen. And then smart people don't do what you thought they were going to do, but you didn't think of that. So they're hoping that so that now that they're laid off, staying at home, getting government money, trying to make money investing, and not making any money because they're following each other, they're hoping that there's a rule that says they have to get $15 an hour so that they get fired, so that they never get called back to work because the work they're doing is not worth $15 an hour, right? And by the way, the same government that's going to pass that rule that makes them get laid off is also making it possible for more illegal aliens to come in so that they get replaced by illegal aliens who don't make $15 an hour, right? So that if you want somebody to mow your lawn, you're not going to hire somebody that you have to pay $15 an hour for because we got tons of illegal aliens coming in who are willing to do it for less. So they think that the way to stop that is to let all the illegal aliens come in that want to, make them citizens, and then make a rule that everybody has to make $15 an hour. And so I'm going to have to go look for people who didn't become a citizen yet, so that who are willing to work without being on the books so that I can get my lawn mowed cheap.
Static analysis again.
When I say me, I'm talking about everyone who's thinking in the world, everyone who's trying to get a good deal. So they're saying, how dare you be an elitist and say that we are making people gamble by encouraging them to invest in things that they don't know anything about.
To
And
Charlie Munger.
yeah, they're arguing with Charlie Munger and saying you are an elitist because you're saying that we're a place where dumb people come to gamble and that they shouldn't be gambling money on the stock market. What Charlie Munger is really saying is they should take the time and learn about actual things, companies they can invest in that are actually making people's lives better and who are marketing themselves well so that they're spreading around and they're starting to have rising sales and getting rising profits. And you should know what you're investing in and buy one company. Don't buy all these things that people are talking about, especially people who are poor and aren't getting rich. So the response comes after Munger said, this is Robin Hood's response, saying you are an elitist, saying that these people are gambling by coming and buying investments they know nothing about.
They are
because
gambling.
They hear it from each other. Yeah, of course they're gambling, because investing in things you don't know anything about is gambling. Is it gambling to invest money, or what makes it gambling? What makes it gambling is that you don't know anything about it. And
using your last dollar
so,
to buy something you don't nothing about.
Yeah, so gambling is because when what you hear about may be good and it may not be good, but you have no idea whether it's good or not. You're buying it because other people without money are buying it, right? What would really, so Munger says it's really stupid to have a culture that encourages gambling in stocks so much by people who have the mindset of racetrack bettors. It's a dirty way of making money, he says, referring to Robin Hood. Well, what are racetrack bettors doing? They're looking for tips on who's going to win the race. Common sense would tell you that they wouldn't have to run the race if you knew who was going to win the race. The favorite doesn't win the race. Sometimes the favorite wins, sometimes the other one wins, right? The odds setters don't know. Do the odds setters run it based on how much muscle the horse has? No. How do they set the odds? They set the odds by how many people bet against it and how many people for it. And they set the odds according to how many people are betting for it and how many people are betting against it. And you know who loves people that do that? The Sopranos. Because the Sopranos have a bookmaker that's out there getting people to bet. Now they've legalized it because they don't want all the money to go to the Sopranos. They want it to go to the taxes. They want it to go to the government. So the government is taking the business away from the Sopranos, which is probably very good. The bottom line is those people at the racetrack who are getting a tip from a guy, there used to be, well, I'm not going to waste your time.
I went to a racetrack one time in Louisiana, Delta Downs, just one time. I saw a horse limping, so I felt sorry for the horse. So I picked that horse and I added 2 numbers and I won exacta. That was the craziest thing, but I didn't know anything too.
So if you buy one company at a time, but you actually really find out about the company, look at its financial statement.
That's right.
Look at how much profit they're making. Look at how much their sales are.
And competition.
Look at what their expenses are. Do you like the product? Do you understand why they're making that product? Do you think that there are more and more people that are being enabled? Did you ever think of the fact that if the product is a digital product, like a platform like Etsy that I was talking about before, that because it's software, the economics of that this is new. In the last 10 years, we got these digital companies. Prior to that, if you bought into a company, it was a manufacturing company. It was very advanced. But in order for them to expand, I keep giving the example of Coca-Cola. To make more Coca-Cola, as people want to buy more Coca-Cola. If I am Coca-Cola, to expand, I got to buy more syrup and more bottles and hire more people and buy more machines and buy more trucks. And all of that to expand, it's very, very expensive. So that's all the time we've got here on this segment. We got to stop, and we'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Money Man.
You've heard it said right here. With enough leverage, you can multiply your investing strength and move mountains. So think about it. How'd you like to own companies like Roku or MasterCard or Raytheon and put down as little as 5 or 10% to unlock the treasure chest of unlimited upside gains? You can, all the while drastically reducing your risk, and you can do it with zero borrowing costs. You just need that leverage and a little know-how. So Dan Frischberg is going to allow you to pick his brain to better understand the concept of leverage. These are special online training sessions called the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. You can use just a little bit of money to potentially make incredible returns. If you want to make real money, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of this once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. All you have to do to try it is to go online and register so you can see the results for yourself. The cost is next to nothing, and look what's waiting for you. Each week, Dan will discuss a few detailed trades, quality, actionable trades. You get detailed instructions on buying and selling specific put and call options. The Pick Dan's Brain Option Service shares specific underlying stocks, expiration dates, strike prices, and shows you how much money you could make instantly. It's Dan Frischberg's time-tested, proven money-making discipline that he's used for 50 years to make himself and a lot of other people rich. Lots of other benefits are waiting for you, too, if you just register at themoneyman.com. That's all one word, themoneyman.com, for the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. This is about teaching you the knowledge and skills. It's your responsibility to apply these skills and knowledge to your specific situation. It's too much to detail here, but all the info is right there at themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the Money Man Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
We're back, and I am Daniel Frischberg, and she is the beautiful Alicia. And if you want to really see a lot about what we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com. And in fact, I have a free, it's not meant to be a free webinar. It was actually a $200 webinar, but I'm making it free now. It's up there on the website, themoneyman.com. You can actually go there, and all you have to do is click on the button, and that's it. You can sign up for it and watch immediately. You don't have to wait. You don't have to show up at a certain time. You can watch that webinar on demand. Mm-hmm. And you're going to find that it tells you exactly how to participate in the fastest growing, biggest money-making deal that has existed in the last 30 or 40 years. And that is this digital transformation and all these things happening at exactly the same time, which is they're printing all this money, the dollar is worth less, everything that's scarce is therefore worth more, making everything go up. Even if you had a lousy stock, it's going to go up just because the dollar is going down. Next, the digital transformation is spreading around the world. We have it in the United States, but understand that there's 2 billion people that are going to be living like we do now. They can't do it right now. They're just getting electricity, just getting computers. And they want to have what we have. The other day, I wanted to order some sneakers, and I was driving with Alicia, and I started to order my sneakers on my telephone, calling Amazon. And she said, "Are you crazy? You're going to kill us." And so I had to pull over into a parking lot. I ordered my sneakers on Amazon in like 2 minutes. Then we got back on the road. The next day, my sneakers are delivered. You understand that they can't do that in a little village in India. They don't live that easy. They have to take a bus to a place where there's a store, right? They live in a much more difficult world, but they want to live like we do, and they're going to live like we do. Enabling them to do that are these digital companies that have originated in all these inventions started here. We can invest in them. I do invest in them, and they're expanding and making me a fortune because the business model is digital. They can expand without expense, and everybody in the world wants them. They're going to have another billion customers over the next few years. They're going to make 3 or 4 times the amount of money that they're making now, and I can own those companies. And I can own them using leverage with very little money. And on themoneyman.com, you can click and watch a webinar on how to learn how to do that the best way. It's very, very important that you learn how to do this.
It's themoneyman.com. And what's the next, the one you just started talking about, a company?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I was going to tell you about Pacific Biosciences, whose stock here on Monday is going down a lot. And that stock went down a lot in the last few days.
Why?
Well, because they're selling these stocks. It's a pullback. But you understand that this stock was maybe $6 and now it's like $35. Maybe it was $45 a couple of days ago. And those prices are not right, actually. Let me give you the real prices. That stock, Pacific Biosciences, just a week or so ago was at $55. Now it's at $27. But do you understand that in November, that stock was at 10? Now you see, it fluctuates. So look, it was at 40 and then it went down to 30 and then it went up to 55. Now it's down to 27. So basically, it's fluctuating a lot. It's a very volatile company, but the stock was at $15 only a couple of months ago. And it never had been above $15 a couple of months ago. But back in November, it was at 15, and back before that, it was at 10 in October. And in September, it was at 5, and now it was at 55, and now it's at 27. It's interesting because they call volatility going down. Volatility doesn't mean going down. Think about the word. Volatility doesn't, but think about how that impacts the way you live and how that shows how people feel and how dumb that thinking is. Volatility means moving a lot, up and down, right? Oscillating, going up and down. When it goes down, they call it volatility. When it goes up, they call it going up. Right? In other words, it's natural to them that it go up. When it goes down, they call it volatility. In fact, this stock is somewhere between $27 and $40, fluctuating over the last month, but it was only $5 6 months ago, right? In other words, it's volatile, of course, because the company is selling a lot, and it's clearly going to make a fortune.
What they do?
I hardly understand what they do. What they do is they have a thing called SMRT. It's single molecule real-time sequencing technology. So what's happening is that for the companies that are doing this DNA remodeling, and you know that when you have a baby, you go and you get a little genetic test, and it tells you this baby is susceptible to this and susceptible to that. I just saw a friend of ours had her breast removed. And the reason was because they could see that genetically she was likely to get breast cancer. It was something that her grandmother had and her mother had. And they could see that she had the right genetic makeup to get breast cancer. And so they avoided her getting breast cancer and dying like her parents did. And because they could read her genes. And now they're actually learning how to change the genes. But in order to be able to do that, they have to be able to see it. So this is for carrier screening and sequencing technology. Now, Invitae is a company that I was invested in. Invitae is actually buying the technology now from Pacific Biosciences. And
so soon they're going to be purchased then.
Well, actually, here's what's happening. The stock is going up and down, but a Japanese company, SoftBank, want to know what happens with people that really know, that don't care what those idiots on television say, and aren't worried about the interest rate. So here's what they did. This is SoftBank. You may have heard of them. SoftBank Management is a multi-billion dollar hedge fund of Japanese guys. They just purchased a $900 million convertible senior note in PacBio, in Pacific Biosciences. That means if they lend them the money, they get a bond, right? The bond pays 1.5% interest. So in other words, Pacific Biosciences just received almost $1 billion for virtually free that they can use to expand. Why? Because they know that this company has got unique thing that everybody in the world needs. Genetic
Sequencing
is going to spread all over the world, and it's going to be every part of everyone's life, and you're going to know exactly what your genetic makeup is, and they're going to change it, and they're remodeling it. And CRISPR, they're actually changing people's genes. All of this stuff requires that you be able to read it. The reason that they're separate, really, Illumina was a company that we owned and made a lot of money on several years ago, because they brought genome sequencing to the world. And they changed it from costing you millions of dollars to get gene sequencing done, and it would take months. And with that Illumina equipment, you could get it done in a matter of a day or two, and it would cost $1,000. Now it's a matter of your doctor can do it, and it costs a couple of $100, and you get it in the afternoon. So the equipment that they're using to do this, the most modern equipment, Illumina tried to buy Pacific Biosciences, but the government didn't let them do that for monopoly reasons. They said it was anti-competitive, that Illumina was going to control this enormous, crucial industry, and so they didn't let them do it. So Pac Biosciences is now on their own, not being bought by Illumina. They've got the best technology, and the companies that we've been investing in are now relying on them because they've got the best technology. So I was starting to tell you that the Japanese company, talking about not listening to the idiots on television, telling you that it's all about interest rates changing by 1%, or an inflation rate at 2%. You've never even lived, in my whole life, we've never had an inflation rate below 2% until just recently. But we've made, I've been investing in the stock market since I was 14 years old, and no one ever cared that the inflation rate was above 2%, and no one cares now, to tell you the truth. They just don't know what to say, and they want to try to explain things, and now they're just repeating what each other say. Somebody said it, and another person said it, and now they're taking it as a fact. When everybody says the same thing, it becomes a fact, except it's not. And so don't you believe what's happening at all. But here's what happened. SoftBank, the Japanese guys that really understand money, because they've made billions, right? They're not $60,000 a year commentator on television. They really have made billions, and they understand. So what they did is they bought $900 million of convertible senior notes in PacBio. $900 million that they're only getting paid 1.5%. So PacBio now has the right, the ability, the money to expand and hire a sales force and do all that stuff, which they were relying on being bought, but now they're not, right? Now they're on their own. So SoftBank gave them $900 million, and SoftBank's got the right to buy this stock, convert their convertible note into PacBio stock at $43.50. And so PacBio's got nothing to lose. It would be great, and of course, the stock is going to settle at $43.50 before long because those guys have it. So the stock's at $28 now. Bottom line is, obviously, the stock is worth a lot more than $43.50. It's going to make a lot more. And that's what guys who really understand the the world are doing.
You know, I love doing this radio program. I even love it more now that it's everywhere. It's on Spotify and it's on iTunes. Thank you all very much for supporting us all these years, and we won't leave you. We're sticking around.
You've been listening to the sound of your money growing. This has been the Money Man Report with your host, radio and TV money man, Dan Frischberg. Hear it again every weekday morning here on Bradenton's WWPR, broadcasting worldwide. It's Better Living Radio.